Hi folks, this is Klaus at Top Hydraulics. I'd like to talk to you today about the hydraulic system in the convertible top for Corvette C6 model years 2005 through 2013. We have a beautiful anniversary edition 427 here with the power top, and you just saw the top relaxing because we had the ignition, we had stopped moving it a few minutes ago. Anyway, the convertible top hydraulic system consists of a pump with hoses and cylinders, and I'd like to tell you what is essential in here and what can go wrong, what you might want to be prepared for. So, as I said, the convertible top hydraulic pump is inside the storage compartment on the passenger side, hiding behind the carpet, and it powers 6 different cylinders that move the tonneau cover, the rear and front bow, and the main frame of the convertible top. So how does this work? We have a pump that has hydraulic fluid in it. Note on the reservoir there's a minimum maximum marker. If you ever see that your fluid level is below minimum, that's a red alert because you're having a leak somewhere. And of course you can fill the pump and keep operating the top, but leaks only get worse and you need to find the source and take care of it. Top Hydraulics rebuilds the pumps, makes them better than new inside. Top Hydraulics also rebuilds the cylinders, every single one of them, makes them better than new inside. And if needed, we also provide hoses that are better than the original ones. The manufacturer made them to a spec that will make the top work fairly well for a few thousand cycles. That's how it's specified. But if it wasn't installed perfectly, then these marginal hoses develop stress cracks and will fail, and at some point certainly Chevrolet is not going to provide the hoses anymore, as we've seen that for many other new cars. Same goes for the pump and the cylinders. In the long run, I would not expect that these will be available anymore. The cousin of the Corvette, the Cadillac XLR, already has the pump unavailable and some of the cylinders. Anyway, don't mean to digress, just prepare you for the long run. What goes wrong in these systems? Well, actually in the Corvette, one of the first things to fail happens to be the pump. It is much more complex inside than you might think. There are 3 solenoid valves inside, and a very complex system as well of pistons creating the pressure and different ways of diverting the fluid inside. And these solenoids and the rotational direction of the motor are controlled by the soft-top controller. The soft-top controller, of course, gets signals from the switch that you're activating, and also from various micro switches that tell it where the top is at, so that the controller knows it is safe to move from one step to the next Such micro switches could be the switch on the right tonneau cover lift cylinder, or it would be a switch inside the soft top frame near the main lift cylinder that indicates where the position of the rear bow is, up or down. What else failed? On the convertible top itself, of course, the motor can go bad. Very important, the seal from the motor to the pump assembly itself will fail with time. Top Hydraulics makes its own seals, much better than the original, not nearly as sensitive to back pressure from the reservoir, much longer lasting, and of course we go through every single element in the pump. We test the heck out of them. We do ship them with much better performance than brand new ones. We test them for pressure, flow, temperature, thermal behavior, and so forth. The solenoids, every single one gets checked, replaced, or upgraded as needed. The hydraulic cylinders actually surprisingly have more seals than you would think. In these cylinders we have on average 7 seals. Typically these particular cylinders will fail first, where the mounting pin goes through the cylinder housing. You wouldn't expect that. Or they will fail in the front. So what seals do we have in here? We have bottom or plug seal that is just sealing the solid parts of the cylinder together. We have port seals where the hydraulic lines go in. We have a gland seal that seals the gland that the shaft slides through from the housing. And of course we have the piston seal where that divides the two chambers of the cylinder. Lastly, we have the rod seal, which seals the shaft from the gland. Again, the gland seal is the solid one that is just sealing the gland to the housing. The rod seal is the one that seals the shaft to the gland. And we also have a wiper seal that keeps out dirt. So why do these fail? Well, afraid to say it is planned obsolescence. The manufacturers know how to do this better because they could use a seal that does not decay as quickly. The seals used in these cylinders are polyurethane. Polyurethane decays with time. It's a chemical natural reaction for polyurethane. That decay gets accelerated for two reasons. Environmental, that is the wrong fluid in the cylinder. For one, if it contains water. Two, if it contains additives that aren't supposed to be in there. And it is heat, as you've learned in chemistry in school. Most chemical reactions are accelerated by heat. So if you are in a hot climate, then your seals in these cylinders will fail sooner than in a cool climate. If you are in Texas or Florida or the United Arab Emirates, then your cylinders will fail a lot sooner than if you're up in Canada in a much more moderate climate. The cylinders that fail the soonest typically are the ones that are exposed to the most heat. So that would be these particular secondary cylinders that are mounted right. No insulation. The sun beats onto the canvas, heats these cylinders and cooks them. So in some climates you may expect these cylinders to fail at an age of 10. In others they may last as long as 20 years. On average 15 years is probably a good guess. What do these cylinders do? We have the tonneau cylinder left and right that lift the tonneau cover. They are mounted here in the trunk. We have the main lift or top drive cylinders that are mounted, well, roughly around here, of course, behind the sheet metal that move the main frame of the soft top around. And we have the bow or secondary cylinders that I just pointed out that flip the rear bow and front bow at the same time. You can see this shaft extending and retracting. So I will give you a few pointers on how to take these parts out of the car. It is actually quite easy in the Corvette. I think you would enjoy the process. The tonneau cylinders are particularly easy. You just create yourself access in the trunk, peel the carpeted panel to the side, and walk these circlips on the ball joints off the ball joint about 1/8 to 1/4 inch by just sticking a flat screwdriver under here and walking this clip off. Same on this end. You walk the clip off its original position so that it stays extended, and at that point, well, it looks like it's better to walk it in the other direction. It didn't want to stick for me in the first direction. Here we have it extended. So once these clips are extended, you can just pull the cylinder off its ball joint. Then the next step is to take the hydraulic lines off. That is actually quite easy. We have stainless steel clips that slide inside these rails. You want to just loosen them up a little bit. One way to loosen them is to tap with a screwdriver in this direction. Make sure that when you remove the clips you don't have the shaft extended and have a sharp tool hitting the shaft, potentially damaging the shaft. Another way to pull these clips would be with needle nose pliers, and if you don't find any other way. Now I managed to get my small flat screwdriver in here on the first attempt. I'll get some paper towels so I don't get everything dirty here, and I'll demonstrate how the hose is taken out. So the clip has slid out of the way. I pull out the hose, then do the same with the other one. Important for reinstallation, Top Hydraulics does provide new O-rings that go onto the hydraulic hose. You put the O-ring on the hose first, push the hose into the cylinder, put your clip back on, and there you go. Top Hydraulics does offer core exchange for the C6 cylinders, single ones or for the full set. While you're at it, if you have the first cylinder leaking, at the very, very least, do them in pairs. Both left and right side cylinder are the same age, same batch of seals, exposed to the same amount of heat, and they will fail typically within days or weeks of each other. The smart thing to do is to do the whole set of cylinders. So the Tonneau cylinders, as I said, are easy to remove. The bow cylinders here are quite easy as well. You have a clip that is moved off the collar. You pull out the clip, and half of your cylinder is already off. The second half is a pin inside the soft top frame. You just create access to that pin, pull it out, and the cylinder is out. It's a little bit harder to get the main lift cylinders out. For those, you actually have to remove the interior quarter panels. Not that it's a big deal, you'll just have to deal with how the quarter panel is mounted, and again pull the mounting pins, and you can take the cylinder out. With that, I think you know roughly what awaits you, and you may want to plan ahead, work on the cylinders before they fail, before you have fluid dripping onto your seats and smelling up your car. Removal of the bow cylinder or secondary cylinder, that's the one above the doors, is very simple. You push down the collar on this pin, and the pin is out. I'll just put it back in for now, just so that things aren't falling all over the place. Notice that there is a spring washer that keeps the cylinder from rattling. Just put it straight back in when you have the pin back in later on installation. And now we get to the rear mounting pin. The rear mounting pin goes through the cylinder housing. This is the cylinder that we would put in, and in order to get access to it, we had to remove the weather stripping only on this portion. It's very easy to remove this weather stripping. All you need is a Torx T10 wrench, and find the two bolts in here to take out, and this weather stripping comes up. Once the weather stripping is up, you will find this foam rubber. Take the foam rubber out and find a way to lever the old mounting pin out of here, and there comes your cylinder. Now we're down to removing the hydraulic hoses and putting the replacement cylinder in and remounting everything. It's that easy. These cylinders tend to be the first ones to fail on the Corvette, as I said earlier, because they are so close to the canvas, there's no insulation. The seals in these cylinders get fried. So typically these will be the first ones, then the ones lifting the tonneau cover, lastly the main lift cylinders. So I'll show you quickly how the tonneau cylinder is removed in the trunk. Of course, you open the trunk lid and you will find the cylinder mounted around here. If the camera can come low enough, then you can actually see the cylinder up here. And I will just simulate everything, the removal procedure, holding the cylinder up. We walk a small flat screwdriver under the circlip. I didn't have a flat screwdriver. I'm using a pick right now. That was in my pocket. Move it under the front circlip as well, and walk that circlip off of its original position so it is spread. Once both of these circlips are spread on the ball joints, we can simply pull the cylinder off the balls, and we'll have something like this in our hands. Then the next thing we do is remove the hydraulic line clips. Again, this would be easy with a screwdriver. We either tap hard on this end, or we find a way to lever the clip loose. I wiggled it loose a little bit. Now I'm able to get the pick in this gap and pull this clip out. Next thing, pull the hydraulic lines, put in the rebuilt and upgraded replacement from Top Hydraulics, guaranteed much better inside than a brand new one. You reinstall the hydraulic lines and put the clips back on and clip the whole cylinder back on. Same procedure on the left side, except for on the left side we have a limit switch on it that you want to disconnect from the wiring harness and then reconnect when you put the replaced cylinder in. Removing and replacing the convertible top pump in a Corvette C6 is actually quite easy. You can do it in a half an hour if you know how, and we'll show you how it's done. So down here we have the tools needed. That's a 10mm socket, just some cutters for zip ties, and a 5mm Allen wrench to remove hoses from the pump. The pump is inside the soft top storage compartment all the way on the side, on the passenger side. We only need to undo this one nut that holds the carpet piece in place, and we bend the trim over, and here is our pump. Ta-da! You have the minimum maximum fluid level on the pump. If you ever see the fluid level under minimum, of course you can fill it up, but it will not fix the problem. It means you have a leak somewhere. That leak most likely is from one of the cylinders. The cylinders typically leak in the most unlikely place, one would think, that is through the rear mounting bolts. It's one of the first seals in those cylinders to fail. Those cylinders have 7 seals. Anyway, the pump here is mounted in a frame. That frame is tied down. We've loosened already the nuts. 1, 2, 3 10mm nuts that I'll quickly take out here. And one all the way on the bottom. For that one we use an extension. Next we will undo the wiring harness and remove the hoses from the pump. And if you get a replacement pump from Top Hydraulics and core exchange, it doesn't cost more. There's only a refundable deposit. Then you can just do a plug and play, that is, take the old one out, reconnect everything, and you got it going again very quickly. So one zip tie to be cut up here, and one zip tie all the way down here on the bottom. Then to undo the wiring harness, you squeeze on this end, then you can move the purple tab down and pull this connector off. And here we go, we already have the whole pump loose, and we only need to pull this connector off the pump frame. Next I'll show you how to remove the hoses from the pump. That is, we unscrew these 2 5mm socket head screws with the Allen wrench, and then we tug a little bit on each individual hose to loosen them up. Then we pull all hoses out together at the same time. The hoses will stay confined to this plate, and if you look very closely, then you will see that each hose has a 2-digit number printed on it in yellow, tannish, sometimes it's white or red ink, and the numbers on the hoses match what's engraved on the plate here. For example, number 24, is it 24? No, it's 34. number 34 engraved on the plate. I don't want to bend this hose too hard, and here it is printed in yellow on the hose itself. The manufacturer went a little bit weak on the hose material. The walls are pretty thin. The replacement hoses from Top Hydraulics, if you ever need any, are much better quality. The way we see it from most manufacturers is that after a certain number of years they quit supplying things like hoses and pumps. Currently they're still available for the Corvette. This is year 2018. Let's see how long it lasts. For example, the Corvette's cousin, the Cadillac XLR, you are not able to buy pumps for anymore, and they're running out of cylinders and hoses. So we tug a little bit on each individual hose, and we've done this a little bit before, so they're already loosened. One more thing, I will get some paper towels and try to prevent a mess in here. For hydraulic fluid, of course, you can buy Corvette fluid or Chevy fluid. Really, the fluid used in the system is made by Exxon. It's a Univis HVC26. Its closest cousin is Pentosene CHF11S. And all of these fluids are made for the most modern standards of flammability and so forth. The best choice in our eyes at Top Hydraulics is Mercedes fluid. It doesn't smell as badly. It does not attack clear coat if you accidentally have fluid dripping on your clear coat. So for fluid you actually want to use Mercedes fluid 000-989-9103. That doesn't smell as badly, it works just as well, and it's a lot cheaper than Chevy fluid. So here we are, we have disconnected the whole pump, and now we can just take it out and swap in the replacement from Top Hydraulics. Ta-da!